There was a time in my life when basketball was everything to me. I remember days when it was the first thing I did in the morning.
Regi Harris was named All-State his senior year in high school. He led the conference in scoring that year, and there was no doubt in Regi's mind he would play college basketball. But he had loftier goals.
All my life, I wanted to be an NBA basketball player, and no one from my high school had ever made it to the NBA. And from the little rural area that I grew up in, no one had ever made it to any pro sport. So I wanted to be the first.
Regi's parents gave him up at birth, so his grandparents became the only parents he knew. They tried instilling in him Christian values.
It was all about hard work. They were about morals, principles, and that's something that I didn't want no part of. It kept me from doing things that I wanted to do. I didn't want to come home and have to do chores. I wanted to play basketball when I got home.
Regi's talent landed him a full scholarship at Division I Sam Houston State. In his sophomore season, he was named All-American. It seemed the NBA would be calling soon, but that call would never come.
Regi's dream came to an end the summer before his senior season on a playground in Texas. He was playing in a pickup game when he went for a dunk and shattered his kneecap. Doctors told him his career was over.
I became very depressed, disappointed, very disappointed, and hurt, frustrated, crushed, because so many people had so much confidence in me. I started drowning my sorrows in drugs, and I started doing more drugs and heavier drugs.
Regi's drug of choice was crack.
And I started credit card fraud and forging checks and any little thing that I could do to get my drugs. And of course, when you do crime, you do time.
Regi was sentenced to 9 years in prison for forgery. He tried to change.
So I pick up my Bible and do the jailhouse religion thing, and I really get into it and really meant it.
Regi was released after only 9 months on good behavior. But within a year, he began using again.
There's a lot of pressures that's out in society that's not in jail, and you don't have nothing but a lot of time in there to just get into your word and do meditation and the devotion, the stuff that you don't really discipline yourself to do once you get out because you got all these other distractions.
I want to understand drug addiction because it's a very miserable place from what I understand, but it's a place that so many people return to. Why is that?
You know, I always say drugs is, they escalate. They don't get better, they get worse, and they get to a point to where they take over you and your body craves it. And now you just gotta have them at all costs.
Regi violated his probation and was sent back to prison. While there, he got a phone call about his grandfather, the man he called Dad.
I knew my grandfather was sick, but I didn't know to what extent. And my aunt was on the phone and she just said, you know, your dad passed away. And, you know, it didn't really sink in at first. But a couple of days later, it really hit home that I would never see him again. And I would never be able to tell him I'm sorry, shake his hand and say, you know, I appreciate your prayers and I appreciate all the concern that you have for me.
11 months later, Regi's grandmother passed away. The only parents he'd ever known were gone, while he was locked in prison.
She went, and I mean, I thought the first one was tough, but now they're both gone.
Regi felt alone and desperate. Again, he was released from prison, but he was still a prisoner.
I've never felt more locked up than I was when I was out caught in the web of addiction.
So what changed?
I surrendered. All I know is, God, I'm tired of living like this. God, I'm tired of disappointing people. God, I'm tired of running around in the streets like a madman and doing stupid crimes and disappointing people and then degrading myself and my family and most of all degrading God. I told people who knew me, I can do it, I can quit. See, I haven't used for 6 months. I can do it, I can do it. And the more I was saying the less I was saying God. And until one day I realized that I can't do it. I can only do it through Christ.
Regi went to rehab, but he says God set him free from the desire of doing drugs. And he gave him a new desire, helping young people make good choices. And today, he's the coach of a youth basketball team.
He gave me the desires of my heart. It's almost renders you speechless because it's like when I'm on the court with the kids or we're going to a game or any game, And I could just say, look at God and say, man, you know, I just thank you so much.
Reggie believes the faithfulness of his grandparents played a part in his life change.
I used to see her pray all the time. And she would pray for hours. And the reason she was on her knees so long is she was probably praying a lot of those prayers for me. I don't deserve to have what I have today. If I got what I deserved, I'd probably still be in prison or dead. But in spite of what I've done and despite of the person that I was, his character loves me anyway. And he loved me so much that he was willing to make a sacrifice for me. While I was yet in sin, he paid the ultimate price, and it's awesome. It's awesome. And I make it personal. He did that for me.